There's a video out by Dan Olson called, "This is financial advice." It's like you're looking at my pornography on my phone. Yeah, Pixiv. Anyway, so it's about the Bed Bath and Beyond GameStop stock psychos. Yeah. And how they've been poorly coping with Bed Bath and Beyond going bankrupt.
Hasn't that been years?
Yeah. All of it has been years, right? No, Bed Bath and Beyond went bankrupt sometime in April, and they officially liquidated all of their stocks in late September.
I swore people were talking about it.
Oh, they've talking about it for a couple of years because Bed Bath and Beyond is on.
Because they finally pulled it.
No, because they're a finance cult.
Yeah.
It is a literal. Unavoidable finance cult about basically circling around Ryan Cohen, who is a finance dork, who is a huge pathetic libertarian loser.
Guru?
I wouldn't say guru. He's not a guru. Everything that he does is off the back of his entire gimmick is scamming retail investors.
That's guru.
I guess. I mean, if
you said you were a financial guru, I assume you have a pyramid scheme and that you scam people.
Yeah, you're using your influencer status to pump and dump. He's gotten sued a couple of times for by a couple people because he's been accused of pump and dumping stuff. He did it to North Face, he did it to Bed Bath and Beyond, he did it to GameStop. He just does it a lot.
Yeah.
You had a question?
No, there was another one that got pumped and dumped recently. No.
AMC.
No, it wasn't AMC. It was Unity.
Yeah. That was specifically the CEO did that too.
Yeah. I was just saying.
Yeah. But so it's basically a finance cult where all of them are convinced that Bed Bath and Beyond will mysteriously bounce back because Ryan Cohen, the current CEO of GameStop, former finance guru, libertarian loser dipshit, is going to buy Bed Bath & Beyond and it will magically turn around, despite the fact that Bed Bath & Beyond has been insolvent for about 2 years now.
How do you, well, I think, Bed Bath & Beyond's, niche, or its, culture, is predicated upon owning a home. So how?
Yes, there's also a lot of brick and mortar retail store bullshit where.
Yeah, but its primary business model is bathware, kitchenware.
Home renovation.
Yeah. So there's not.
Didn't this happen when Sears went out of business? Didn't people think that it would come back and there's a huge I don't think it was a finance cult.
That's more just a mismanagement thing, but it didn't. Sears was more because it was an actual American staple. For Sears, it's 100+ years of history under that company's belt. Bed Bath & Beyond is no such thing, right?
Yeah.
Their only cultural institution is just malls or taking up retail space in mini malls and shit. Anywhere there's a Target, a Bed Bath & Beyond is probably nowhere, is pretty close by.
I've never...
Yeah,
Sorry, I yawned. I never have known anybody who's bought anything from Bed Bath & Beyond.
That's the other thing, is that most of it is a demographic that's aged out of it.
Water balloon pump. What? Yeah, they should sell
Knickknacks.
Yeah.
Oh. Can you repeat what he said about the water balloon?
Oh no, I bought a water balloon thing from there. You fill up a jug with water and then you pump it and then.
Yeah. So another thing is a lot of these brick and mortar places are being sold out because we have the internet now and we use Amazon and
you can get most of the stuff better and cheaper online, or or there's also a whole bunch of different online retailers that does the same exact thing, a little bit cheaper, or Wayfair for sure, definitely one of those. Overstock is really big on that as well. And a lot of these places, TJ Maxx and shit like that, have found their niche and they've survived just off the back of knowing what they need to do and knowing how to manage these things. But
what does TJ Maxx even sell outside
clothes, that's it. That's all they need. They just need clothes.
I just don't get how they compete with stuff
It's because like if you don't want to use the internet and you want to go there and try on clothes that are pretty relatively cheap and look good and they're okay, but that niche allows you to survive.
H&M, and other stuff like that.
Those are too expensive though. Those are like almost designer quality level.
It's the one near
H&M, Forever 21, Ross. Ross is Ross is like a thread up. It's like a, people get clothes and they Burlington Coat Factory. Yeah, but Burlington, Ross, those are
It's a niche.
those are niches.
But there's a use case there. Bed Bath & Beyond has almost nothing. Like, it was a poorly run company for decades, dude. Like, it barely survived the 2008 financial crisis, and COVID basically took a golf club to its dick and that it couldn't fucking recover from. Like, they were barely covering anything. And when their stock got bought up by a whole bunch of people hoping to do a short squeeze or a pump and dump for it back in early 2021, late 2020, like, they were even telling shareholders, like, there is no guarantee that these stocks are going to be worth anything. Like, you really shouldn't be don't put this in a mutual fund. Like, we can't promise anything. In 2022, they were saying the same goddamn thing. They're like, look, we got a lot of people who are buying the stocks, but I can't remember the actual the actual financial jargon they use, but it basically boils down to the share price and amount of stocks being bought does not reflect the business's health. We cannot fulfill our debts currently, and we're looking for bankruptcy protection all the way through 2022.
And this is something a lot of people who are like just vaguely around corporations too, or know of corporations, don't often know, is when it gets to the time period where the company's going to die, they hire in a new CEO. And the CEO is the closing CEO. He's a person who literally kills businesses. He knows how to kill them, so everybody gets out, and they get out with,
It's not like this is like an artificial thing like Toys R Us or like a couple of other businesses that were like finance vultured. No, this company was very barely making even throughout the decade post 2008 financial crisis, and 2020 came along and hit that motherfucker in the dick with a ball peen hammer, and you're fucked, right? You can't come back from that.
And even if your stock goes up, like that's what I was saying about the CEO or whoever they hire as their even like CFOs, like whoever they hire in charge, they can't just like it's so hard to like move an entire company's direction once they get money.
There is a bit about like in, This Is Financial Advice, the documentary, where there's a small bit where like they just basically say, this old-timey kind of goofy old-timey aside bit where they're like, sometimes companies fail due to a number of different factors outside of the consumer and shareholders' controls. Everything from wasting money on pet projects to bad buys to an inability to keep up with the times. And Bed Bath & Beyond reflects all of those immensely, right? They should have shuttered a lot of their stores ages ago. They should have moved away from their incredibly specific pet projects and shit eons ago. They should have like told Ryan Cohen to eat shit and fuck off the minute he tried to do his pump and dump scheme. They should have stopped the stock buyback program like literally the minute COVID happened, but they stuck with it for years. Didn't stop doing that until like late 2022. And that was, by then it's like, it's way too fucking late to be stopping this right now. The damage is already done.
Let me give Cohen some advice here, okay? JCPenney's, that's the next to go. If you want to do your next pump and dump, the only thing keeping JCPenney's afloat right now is Sephora. Having a makeup place in a dying shopping mall, basically, and it's located in a JCPenney's, that's what's keeping them afloat. They got nothing, dude. That's like when Applebee's, I'm sure you know of Applebee's, because in your campaign, you take them to the Applebee's.
All the time.
You take them to the Mind Palace of Applebee's. But like Applebee's tried to market themselves towards a nightclub theme. Yeah, like a TGIF. Like they tried to go that route where like young kids would come to Applebee's. And then what ended up happening is they lost all their clientele because the people going to Applebee's were like, I just want some food that isn't from my house.
Yeah, and I want something that stays open at night and serves alcohol.
Exactly.
Like that was the only the one thing that I associate Applebee's with was my old work up in New York. When in Long Island, there's an Applebee's like a few minutes away from the Bellport Playhouse, And they would always go to that one because it's like, oh yeah, it's late at night. All the other restaurants are closed today. We're going to Applebee's we're going to eat shitty fried food and drink a couple of cheap drinks, and that's going to be the night.
And we're gonna get a salad bar.
Mixed drinks and like the big cocktail bowls or whatever, and they're like fucking huge for no reason because they don't understand about the value of cheap liquor.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, that is the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you can overprice cheap liquor.
Do you think
That shit with sugar. Margaritaville special, baby.
Yeah.
so? Do you think
R.I.P. to
like
Jimmy Buffett, piece of shit.
Do you think like every single shopping mall store is basically going to go out of business within the next 10 years?
Yes, I think that most of
They're either
them.
going to go out of business or their business model's going to change rapidly.
Look.
I don't think this is a good thing.
Tinfoil hat. It could be, because tinfoil hat, this could be the opening of our third type of place. Now, I know there's a lot of talk of this. I saw somebody did a YouTube video. I didn't watch the YouTube video. I'm so sorry. Like, I know you're on the same wavelength as me, but America has nothing for people to go out and just hang out at. It literally, there's no place except for Dave and Buster's maybe where you can go out with your friends and just sit. Like, you can't read a book in a library anymore.
That we did for shopping malls, but like then we basically instilled the idea that you have to be working all the time as a teenager, or that like loitering laws exist because like Gen Xers and old boomers started aging into being weird psychos about seeing children.
Like, it's going back to that though. Like, right now I can feel it in my bones that every shopping mall is going to like basically foreclose or go out of business because they can't provide enough money for the people who are renting it. They can't give enough money to the shopping malls, and rent's going up in general for every, let alone private and
because they want to make their money back on their fucking idiot real estate deals that they
Yeah.
made in like
So-
2020, 2019.
So like so shopping malls are going to become vacant, and then what's going to happen next, in my opinion, in the next 20 to 30 years, is we're going to see hangout places. And you know how you remember when they came out with like 16, the show where it's a bunch of kids hanging out in the mall, and you're like, yo, that's cool. I wish this is for my generation of kids. This is like when you were like, this came out when I was like 14, probably like 16. And it's like 16, finding your place, and then got a new job, gonna start at the mall today. And it's like that, and all the kids hang out at the mall even if they don't have a job, and they're like skateboarding in the mall and shit.
The only thing I would say that isn't going to happen is that like real estate schemes are basically, it's like everything is a real estate scheme or everything is becoming a casino. Like they're trying to open up a fucking another casino near the fart factory that is the paper mill in Richmond for some reason.
Why did arcades die out, man?
Because they rent, and because it was too expensive.
All I'm
Like
saying is that shit's making tons of money in Japan.
because it's different in America. Like there's a huge cultural stigma about that shit. There's a huge thing about like rent and everything else, and it's not. I don't think it's coming back, or that thing is going to happen unless there is a immense restructuring on how we view spaces and how we view social health. Because right now, the concept of social or mental health doesn't exist at all. Like that just does not exist in the slightest.
I feel like that's the only way it can go, is for at least in the optimistic way, is like the only way or direction like malls can go if they want to remain open and be kind of like that like pinnacle, like people drive from another state to come be there, is if they focus more on like, this is a place where you can spend your entire day. You can shop all day.
But it would also require young people to be there. And like a lot of problems with smaller towns and bigger and like suburbs and shit is that there's people just aging out of it. And the only people that are coming back are like really rich people who are never going to let their kids go to a fucking mall, or Republicans who are never going to let their kids go out in public and do not want their children to exist in society. Republicans despise the concept of their kids existing in society.
It's like the beach here where they closed it at 8 because they didn't want minorities to have fun at the beach.
Yeah, after work, they didn't want poor people to go to the beach and
They don't want to hire
Yeah.
lifeguards at night.
Well,
They don't wanna-
I don't even
And
think
they
it's
don't
like
wanna
hiring.
install lights
I
or
don't think it's
anything
anything to do with money. I think it's literally everything to do with just like racism.
They,
like that. I mean, yeah, but that's a part of money.
Like-
It's like you could spend the money to make those places safe to go in at night. That's easy, right? It's not difficult. Like places in Europe do that shit all the time, but like we don't want to do it here because, like you said, that would mean minorities have something to do, and that would mean that people aren't working in the night shift or taking a second job or some other dumb bullshit.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why these brick and mortar stores fail is because they're put in locations that are dying. They operate on really bad business plans that don't work anymore. They did a bunch of scummy practices that like they're not allowed to do anymore. One of the things that Sears got hit with was price fixing on their items, where it is now illegal to claim that something is on sale when it is actually just the price that you intended to give anyway.
They still do that.
No, they do, but it's harder to...
They have to... So, like, they just have to put the price of the item up higher initially anyway. So it's not like it's like a pretend sale.
But like the getting caught and redoing the thing.
Well, it's not a pretend sale. It's like it is a sale, so you would not win in a court case against them because they are putting the price at a specific price and then putting on. So like in American government,
the initial shock of having that thing. Right. And those prices going up or being perceived to go up ruined a lot of like Sears' business model is what I'm trying to say. Like I know that still happens, but like the initial shock of that, of what seemed like their prices were going up and things like that, scared a lot of businesses away. Like a whole lot of these places die also because of corporate raiders. They also die because our idea for what a successful business has changed rapidly. And you can't just run a business anymore. It's got to be infinite money. Although some of them are just literal scam companies that are never going to make their money back because they suck and they're run poorly, like Bed Bath & Beyond. And also, technically, like GameStop.
And then you got to take into account, look at the people who are in charge of each one of these places that has malls, because this is interesting for Maxie especially. You know, like MacArthur Mall in Norfolk. When I was working back in the day, when I was working in Norfolk, there was a guy who was on council for MacArthur. That place is closing. They're selling it. They're getting rid of it. They even want to tear it down. They have like a council of like 12 people who are just randomly picked retirees throughout the city who have like some type of lien or pool. And these people are deciding whether or not they should renovate a mall for a city, or they should tear it down for for $10 million do a renovate. And like these people are part of the city. Yes, they do have some rank and some pull, but like also these people like know nothing about like what drives tourism, why people come to places, what's good about it. So it's like you have to think every city has something like this where they have like a council of like the dumbest people you know that are just old. So they got the position because they're old. So it's like, oh, are we going to re-innovate the mall? No, let's tear it down and let's put up like a parking garage for like the other shit that's there. Yeah, like in the heart of the city. In the heart of the city. Or it's like, hey, let's redo MacArthur, but it needs another parking garage. And it's like, okay, well then put up a parking garage. Well, that would be $1 million. Okay, well what's the annual profit if we did that? Oh, well it's like $4 million. And it's like, yeah, and they're like, it's got to be 10 times the amount. It's got to be 30 times the amount. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why are these random people with no financial like understanding in charge of city programs? And then you realize it's nepotism, or it's like they were in the Navy, so like they were a CO of a ship. So once they got out, people are like, well, he can command 3,000 people. I'm sure he can. No, he can't. He couldn't even do that. Well, I mean, he couldn't even do that.
People fucking suck shit at that too. Yeah. Look at Ryan Cohen. I have a whole fucking thing about this where like Ryan Cohen's whole bag was being a corporate raider, being a scam artist, being like a guy who would do these things where, he's doing his pump and dump schemes and all that shit because he got to get away with it because he made Chewy, which is like the dog food company that you can like buy all that shit online.
Yep. Oh, the Chew Toys?
So back when I worked at
like the PetSmart.
That's when I worked at PetSmart. They had a online, I guess it would be like a secondary company, not an umbrella company, but a company that directly marketed towards PetSmart and was a part. I think they share profits, but they're not under the same branch. But they had these things called puppy guides, and I would have to sell puppy guides. Yes, to people who just got a dog or had a dog because it was a coupon book, and it was like an online marketing. Like they're trying to move the consumer from just in the store at PetSmart to online. So it became like the biggest thing.
Do it from home. It got really big during COVID,
and it's still huge. Still huge.
It's still pretty huge. But it's huge because he sold it.
Yeah.
Because he's not in charge of it. It's huge because some other guy who's better at running the business. He quote unquote started it. It's like everything that involves CEOs and a boardroom board, like Elon Musk, cough. There's no guarantee that motherfucker actually was the dude who pushed all the pieces around to make it anywhere near its good.
No shot.
No shot.
You got rid of taglines for links.
Yeah, I do, because he's an idiot. Because again, he's a moron. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Half of these CEOs don't know what they're doing.
It's not that he's a moron. He's such a petty bitch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's a moron.
Well, I mean, he's a moron insofar as like he actually did it, but like he's such a petty little whiny bitch that like he got so mad at like headlines outing shit about things that he does and other people like do that are in his friend group or something that he just got rid of them all.
Well, also too, when you look at it, yeah, of course he's ruining this site because the SEC has found out that he's shortening his own company. He's putting money on his company failing, which is like a crime. You can't. Anybody else would go to jail because that's
also a bunch of other shit
or federal prison.
Right-wing dudes have his ear too, like Ben Carlson or whatever the fuck. I can't remember his actual name. Had this huge thing where he found a huge series of text messages from this like right-wing guy and Alex Jones basically telling him what to do and how to like ruin the site and how to fix it for right-wingers and stuff like that. And like he has a lot of pull, but again, he's an idiot. It's not just that he's a petty bitch, it's he's a petty bitch and an idiot. Like you can be petty and not a moron.
He's not only did he lose like $30 billion off of this site, but he's also losing money and doing it wrong, and also like, I mean, it is the argument against nepotism. It is the argument that like you could never work your way into something. It's the argument that meritocracy does not exist and is a joke because he is so obviously bad, and even being bad, he's bad at like ruining a company. He's bad at like everything he does. It's insane. I mean, he doesn't need to be good. He has money. Like that's the argument for all these people is that if you have enough money, you can just do whatever you want. I mean, yeah, it's more so just exemplifying. I think it broke that. I think for a lot of people, like normal people who don't really like care about politics or like just try to pretend it doesn't exist. So like everyday people, I think it really broke that facade that like people who are rich because they're smart. I genuinely do think most people who see Elon who aren't a part of his cult are like, damn, that guy's a fucking moron. I think most of the people are now.
I think maybe that's true for like a normal person, but like the Indian Twitter population, though, is really popping off these last few days.
Look, dude, that's because India is a hyper-capitalistic, like, dog-eat-dog fascist state. Yeah. And
they have a caste system.
Yeah, they literally have a caste system still in place. Thanks, Gandhi. But like when it comes down to it, like at the end of the day too, like I don't know, like Elon Musk to most people is an asshole now, which like 20, and you said it took 20 years to get there because he didn't talk as much. Now he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna be popular on this website, I'm gonna do this, and as soon as he started,
shielded more. It's not that he talked as much because he talked all the fucking time, like for years and years and years and years and fucking years. It's just that he doesn't have publicists to protect him anymore, and now that he's on Twitter, people have bigger access to him literally doing things and not having any reason to do the things that he has. Like he's not a smart guy. He's never been a smart guy. None of these people are smart people, but like people still believe in the meritocracy of these people, of like a lot of these people.
I will say, like, I wish Bill Gates got the same treatment Elon Musk does. Like, Bill Gates will go out and say some dumb shit. Yeah, liberals love him.
They believe everything that he believes. beliefs.
I-
That's the difference.
Like he's just passable socially, I think. Whereas Elon Musk is not socially passable for most people. To most people, he's like he's literally like a charisma suck. You look at him and you go, ew. Like, why is he like that?
Concerning.
Concerning. We'll look into this. Concerning. I just hope that, because I think Bill Gates is just as, probably even more despicable than Elon Musk. Yeah, like look at his vaccine things. Yeah.
Damage he is,
Yeah, he's gross.
The underpopulation psychosis that is like.
Yeah.
Have you seen the shift between like, oh, we're overpopulated to
you
that was it. You were just talking about
the
that.
overpopulation versus underpopulation shit.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand how birth rates work.
Yeah, they also don't understand that populations like literally make themselves. Like you can't like control a population to like it flatlines automatically. Like every species, humans have their own population that will literally flatline at one point because eventually that's how birth rates work. You get to a certain statistic and it keeps around there. Medicine progresses. You get to a higher or a lower, and then you find out from there. There's no overpopulation. There's no underpopulation.
We're not in there's no historical precedence for the things that are happening right now. That's the one thing that boils my brain about all of this is anyone acting like they understand what's happening. Literally 100 years ago, the idea that we could cure malaria or typhus or like any of these diseases is unthinkable. If you were to go back in time to someone in the 1900s and say, in the future, 0 people have died of cholera in about 20 years straight. No one in the United States have died of cholera. They'd be like, no, fuck off, shut up. Like, yeah, also, polio is not a thing anymore. They'd be like, what? That would be like saying that would be like going back in time and saying in the future wizardry is real.
Yeah.
Like people would be that would blow their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Like if you could go back in time and take like the original flat earth guy and fly him on an airplane, he would shit his pants and die and be like, "Oh, the earth is round. I'm wrong." Yeah. Like we are in an era where I can pull out my fucking phone and text somebody on the other side of the planet and they'll get that message in a minute or less, right? You cannot act like you know what's happening. No one understands what's happening. The overpopulation, underpopulation thing is a panic by a bunch of rich people who can't accept that they don't know what's happening.
I will say this, and this gave me like the most solace of overpopulation, underpopulation. As just like a normal human, Panda gave me the statistic and I was like, oh yeah, that's okay. Now I kind of get where we're at. If you put every person in the world shoulder to shoulder, they could all fit inside the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
every person on Earth.
There's like 7 billion is a huge number until you think of how big the fucking Earth is.
Yeah, especially like, and as an American, like you think, oh yeah, America's pretty big. No, like America has like so much unused space that like half of this country is nothing. Like more than half of this is literally a nothing part of the world. Also, I wanted to say you could fly B.O.B. in a plane and he still thinks the Earth is flat. So I wonder what that gets you. I wonder if humans.
Well, B.O.B. B.O.B. is like the cognitive dissonance, really, and being dumb as shit. But like that other guy was just a grifter who was like operating with like math and technology that had yet to exist. Like I'm saying, if you fly that dude up into like space, he'd be like, oh, okay, well,
he'd give up.
Yeah, he'd probably give up. Probably.
Like, now I'm selling space balloons.
Yeah, now I'm selling space balloons. Yeah. I believe that the mole men exist in space. Yeah. The Earth is hollow. Is actually round, but it is hollow, and the mole men live on the moon. We need to go to the moon to trade hats with the mole people.
Yeah. That's such a good world. I wish I lived in it.
I wish I lived in it. One of our presidents believed that. I don't remember which one it was, but it was like
Taft.
No, the one before Andrew Jackson. I don't remember his name, but he was like, yeah, I'm going to give this money to this guy to go to the Antarctica to find the hole in the middle of the earth where the mole people are.
Adams?
It might have been, yeah.
That's the one before Jackson.
I think it was John Adams, yeah.
Wow.
Like he's really weird like that. He was really smart, except for that one bit where he believed a conspiracy theory where the whole Earth was hollow, and Andrew Jackson's like, "All right, let me see the finances." Hey, so this last item about find the mole people, what the fuck's that about? No, don't give that crank money. Burn that note.
That's my president. that is so based.
my fucking
That is so based. Holy imagine, dude, if I became president, we'd have a whole sector for mole people. You would be like, where did our defense budget go? I'd be like, not to schools or to children. Let me tell you what, to mole people.
There is a selection of flat earthers who believe that Antarctica is a limitless liminal space. That if you go far enough, you go over the ice wall into a new continent.
That'd be sick.
There's an energy wall blocking the new continent. And if you go past the energy wall, you are instantly cured of all diseases.
I'm telling you, if you gave most conspiracy theorists like a 6-month writing course and then told them they had to write a book by the end of the year, or they'd get poisoned or something, we would have the best fantasy novels ever made. I'm not joking.
Golden age of fantasy and sci-fi.
Like J.R.R. Tolkien, who, you know?
Literally somebody said, like, some flat earther guy posted a flat earth map with that was basically like we exist on multiple planes. There are multiple walls of ice blocking multiple magical continents, and if we go past enough magical continents, we will find Odin. And it's like, damn, this motherfucker's spitting. That's the coolest fantasy setting I've ever read in my life. Yo, give this motherfucker an RPG writing course and we'll see the D&D killer by next year.
I'm saying the One Piece would have been not even close. We're gonna have 2,000 episodes of that dude finding Odin. It's gonna be called Finding Odin. I've already decided for him.
You know, if half of those guys weren't so anti-Semitic, I would encourage them to write more. But I think that they would just was it Varg Vargelson or whatever? Not Varg. It's like this dude wrote a RPG that's like, if you don't know who the guy is, it's like, okay, this is kind of a really weird RPG, but I guess it's kind of interesting. You're mixing all these mythologies, and then you get to the part where he talks about black people, and you're like, oh, he's racist.
You're like, I wish I could take my sight back.
I wish I did not waste my time reading this book. But yeah, circling back around, one of the funniest things about the topic of making money or staying solvent and things like that and balancing books, Ryan Cohen had I remember the word. It is a idiosyncratic outside forces, which is to say the price of GameStop stock right now does not reflect the health of the company because of, in his words, idiosyncratic outside forces. Read a bunch of crazy people constantly buying the stock and inflating the price. By the by, it is nowhere near where it was in 2021. It has only fallen since 2021.
I just really wish that I could go back in time 3 months and put stock into Unreal Engine. Godot or something.
So I just think of this because that's what a lot of economists think too. I see it all the time. It's so strange to me that people think that the actual value of something is determined by people and not what the actual value is itself. It's like this faux intellectualism and new age stock exchange. It's but it's because stocks aren't real, right? It's because they're fake. Yeah. I mean, but you go from stocks to actual value, and people crumble. They don't understand why their stock can just go under randomly, or any of the cryptocurrency stuff. But it's all fake. It's fake. You can't determine how profitable a company is based upon what you think is profitable for the company.
And even if it is a profitable company, a perfectly Toys R Us was profitable until they killed it.
Yeah, you just can't control for outside forces that are competing with the companies that exist, because at any point in time, take fucking this whole console war shit that's been going on for years, Microsoft, Nintendo, Xbox. Microsoft's trying to buy out Sony and Nintendo. So what if they ever accrue enough money to do that, and you don't know what forces they could be doing behind the scenes in order to like short other stocks or something like that.
Well, that's all how like a lot of the Bed Bath and Beyond GameStop conspiracies basically happen. Is this idea that there is a invisible war to short the stocks, when in reality a lot of it comes down to just mismanagement.
Invisible war. Like if you admit that it's an invisible war, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a fallacy. It's like it's an argument that just doesn't work.
You can't determine what. Well, I mean, like you can kind of like guess what somebody like a group of people would want to use and buy and like purchase from, but you can't like say for certain that's what's going to happen. Like people are
also
wily.
Too, like like it is also too. It's kind of like casinos where like. It reminds me of casinos and gambling in general, but it's not so much so that, because there is like insider knowledge you can get a hold of very easily about companies. Like they don't consider it insider knowledge because it's public knowledge. But like GameStop going under, you could have Googled 5 years ago and found out the information you needed to know to make the assumption that, GameStop is going to go under. Most of the time when people do stock trading and like build these cults, it's because they're always trying to do like day trading or penny stocks where they're like trying to make like $500 a day, you know? And like, I mean, these are the people that die of a heart attack at like 45 because like they're so stressed and their like hair is falling out because it's like gambling. It is gambling. But you can game the system. There are people that game the system and be really good at day trading, and they make hundreds of thousands every year because they just have all of the news information about every company, and they know, oh, I'm the first one to see this article, so I'm going to pull out money because I know this article is going to do that to that company. It's going to make me lose money if I don't pull out. So then they just do that, and it's not really gambling.
Have a lot of brokers behind them to be able to help them out with that sort of thing.
That too, like if you're rich, you have like 30 fucking brokers move your money around all day and do day trading for you.
Yeah.
Like if you're Panda, you get people to do it for you because you can afford a pizza every night, you know? But sorry, I just wanted to.
One of those things.
You really want a pizza today, huh?
It's okay.
Ask Buzz.
I made a pizza.
Buzz would buy me a pizza.
Buzz bought me two pizzas already.
Buzz sent me $100 randomly one day when I said I didn't have money for groceries. I didn't ask for it. Buzz was just like, "Here you go." I was like, "What? Are you fucking kidding me?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "No," and I'm like, or they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Okay. Well, thanks. I don't care. Shut up." I was like, "Thank you." Thank you. Like, I was like, I
love Bus. They're so cool.
Oh, Buzz are really cool.
Look, I love Bus too, but then randomly Bus will be like, "Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Kill yourself!"
You gotta love them.
Can't handle that.
You gotta love them. But I was like, the best thing for that was they had a bit in the documentary that was basically like they're trying to shadow box the random noise of the market, where like a lot of the market is kind of gambling and is decoupled, but like you said, there's a way for you to. There are things that would make a company go up or down. Like there's a reason that like, you know, sometimes Apple will go up if they introduce a system and it's good, or they, you know, put out a phone and it gets well reviewed. Those stocks are probably going to go up, or it's probably going to be valued pretty fairly. Like steel companies usually go up and down for good reasons.
Nearly like 100% of the time, every time a new product comes out, it will just, you know, go up, go back down immediately.
Well, with the iPhone 15, it went down. Like it started to see it. I mean, it didn't go down, but it went down enough to where you would be like, that wouldn't be a good investment to try to like sell on or to buy on. Let's say buy beforehand, and then because you'd end up being around the same. But then you could just hold on. Like if you had stock, this happened to one of the people we know. Their dad, Paul, the legend. You remember Paul, British man? He bought Blizzard stock when they first started making games, and then like never looked at it, and then like 20 years later he has like $5,000 on top of what he put in sitting there, and he's like, oh, okay, now I'll pull it out. Once they had like their big fiasco with the what, you guys don't have phones, like when they did that thing, he pulled it out right after then because he was like, okay, this company's going down. But like he pulled it out and then like gave it to his son. And I was like, that's so crazy that like this dude like saw a gaming company and knew, yeah, games are going to be popular. It's very hard to fuck up a gaming company once you've gotten started. Like, good luck, you know. Like, and I mean, gotten started by having like a critical success, like StarCraft 2 at that time, you know. Like, he was like, no way. It came out with World of Warcraft and it has StarCraft 2. This shit ain't going nowhere. I'm putting money in it. Before they came out with StarCraft 2, he put money in it. And it was like, yeah. I mean, but I mean, there are people who make millions of dollars just reading news about stocks and then putting money in it.
You know?
But I could never do that because, one, I'm not a nerd. And then two, it's so volatile that yes,
It's still a gamble no matter what.
you do lose money, but if you put money away, there's no way to actually be broke. If you start with like 100,000, you will never go broke doing stocks.
Unless you're an idiot.
But
Unless you're an idiot and you're like shorting and like trying to do shit, and instead of doing like the faux insider trading where you're like, oh, this company just opened up 3 factories in Tijuana. I mean,
Well, you don't own land in Tijuana?
I'm not
You
Amazon.
don't own land in the metaverse.
That's so true.
I want to. Oh, let me tell you.
Thank
So
you.
I have an Oculus, right? Because I had it like way before, because my dad bought it for me for like Christmas, like years beforehand. I tried to use it a few days ago, and I had to use their new Meta login.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't let me use my product that I purchased without updating and syncing with the metaverse.
Ages ago.
And it was the worst setup experience I have
Facebook lost all that money.
ever had. And I just like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I gotta sync up with my computer and put the password in for my headset to the computer. And I'm like, what part of the fucking site is the part where I actually put in the stupid code that's in my headset? And I go back and forth. I go back and forth, go back and forth, go back and forth. I'm like, do I do it on my phone? There's a thing saying I put the code into my phone. Is that it? No, that's a different thing. Do I go back to the computer? Do I download this app that's actually to control the Oculus? No, that's a different thing. That's a different thing you gotta sync to. And I don't know, man, that was horrible. It was not a good experience.
That's why they lost,
200
again, they lost all that money.
$200 billion. Can't log in.
Like, even I can't think of anything else that's quite as like something that's framed as like, oh, we're the next level of technology.
Spore.
But they don't fucking understand the basics.
Yeah, NFTs is pretty up there.
Like,
Everything to do with
they
the
just
Web3,
don't
everything to do with
like,
Meta.
literally anything about web design and like web page like accessibility and like readability of the web page, like they
together
lost
7 different
everything. It's kind of like the only thing I can equate it to is like Neopets, but Neopets was like a godforsaken era of like early 2000s that never
Really don't,
updated.
because that's like them building on centuries of like web design bullshit. Same thing with RuneScape in a sense, but like at least RuneScape, if you email a moderator, they'll email you back in a day. Like everything to do with Meta is basically just all of that. Half the reason they lost that money is that it is incredibly user unfriendly. Like, they don't know what they want the product to be, and because they don't know what they want the product to be, they're stapling all this unnecessary bullshit over and over and over again because they just don't have a product.
It doesn't even make sense because all it was doing was just basically syncing it to your Meta account. But there was like the page that it wanted you to go to didn't exist. They took the page
Because it is a solid 3 years of rot. It's like link rot on fast forward because they've changed it so much.
Like, it was ridiculous. I'm sitting there like
Literally the only thing I could think of was like bad web design, like, and bad like technology was Neopets, but Neopets is just like, you know, a godforsaken era. Like, it wasn't. It's not something left in the dust. It's something that's just been like there's so many hands touching it that they probably don't even realize that one of the web pages doesn't work anymore because you refixed it once and then somebody else came back and changed the web page and then somebody else came back and put different like layers of things, and I'm just like, this is crazy.
I have a photography business that I was trying to run with my friend, and where I would do the design for the website, and I'd spent like 8 hours doing the design for the website, and then I asked him to tell me what he thought of it, and he changed the entire website within 30 minutes to be unfunctional. This is the exact same thing, but on a corporate level with 2,000 people.
It's more than 2,000 people.
Well, I mean, 2,000 people just doing the design of logging in, like literally.
like I just can't believe it was that. Like, I can, but I can't. You know, I can believe it's that bad, but I can't believe it was such a fucking.
Wait. You know how when Pokemon comes out with a new generation and then the entire fucking meta is just dog shit now and it just doesn't work and you have to wait like 3 months for it to get to normalcy because you end up banning like half of the roster of Pokemon that come out, or they're like, this is the legendary, these are the best stats that will ever be in Pokemon, and they're like, oh yeah, here's Ogrepon. Yeah, anyway. So there you go. That's the same thing. It's just like people making shit on top of shit on top of it on top of it.
It's mostly just because they don't. Again, it's not even like an incompetence at like the people who are trying to make it. It's an incompetence on the corporate level. On like, it is Mark Zuckerberg and the handful of morons who are trying to create this metaverse thing or making this new generation of media work. And then it doesn't work because they just don't have a product. They don't have a product. They don't have a vision. It constantly changes every single time. It is feature rot, basically, is what it's mostly called. 3D Realms had that problems when they were making Duke Nukem Forever is probably the closest thing that I would say that this is actually relevant to, and that you're constantly stapling more and more features on it and saying, cancel this, cancel it, start over, cancel it, start over, cancel it, start over, cancel it, start over. It's got to be this. No, it's got to be this. Okay, this thing that was easy to log into, well, it's got to connect directly to the metaverse. The metaverse is how you access all of your games now for some reason. You have to enter Horizon Worlds and then enter your games. Okay, no, scrap that. People hate that. Delete that link. Okay, don't delete that link. Don't update that link. Because again, you're constantly changing that shit. You're constantly putting money into it, and you're constantly like redoing everything until it's just feature jank forever.
I said it last night, right? To where this is like I was like, there's a big game that like all the fucking like VTubers or whatever now are playing, where it's like you take little like fruits and you drop them. If there's the same fruit, they connect into a bigger fruit, and the big fruit connects to each other, and you finally get bigger and like you get more points or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like I think it's a blight upon streaming as a whole, just because of how the game works. But then I realized that this was just a Neopet Flash game that had no greater end goal of like feeding a Neopet. And I thought to myself, man, if like Neopets actually kept up with what they were doing, no teenage girl or like woman who played Neopets within the era of 2007, we would still be back there. Yeah, like we would still be in that era. Like there would be no culture shift whatsoever because they would just be playing little Flash games.
Want, like a functional product that doesn't have any jank or bloat built into it. You don't find that shit anymore. Like Candy Crush had that market for like what? 10 years until they outbloated themselves until like that shit just doesn't fucking exist anymore. Like how many weird little fucking games do people like kind of try to push onto you, like, you know, 24 or whatever, or 1014 or some bullshit like that, weird little tiny math games or Tetris clones or all these other things that people like and get popular because it's literally just a game. And there's no bloat or anything attached to it. It's a simple thing that no one's trying to sell you things. No one is asking you to log into the Epic Games Store. No one is you don't need to go through 6 or 7 fucking web pages to get your Oculus to work or whatever the fuck. No, you click a button and it works. That's why like the Oculus and all that shit isn't ever going to take off versus something like VR chat where you just press the button and VR chat works and there's no fucking complications there.
I worked as a lead manager of a VR store, so I had to set up Oculuses and every type of VR headset you could imagine. Mm-hmm. And whenever I'd have to do it and a kid would like touch a button and the whole thing would like mess up, I'd have to reset up cameras that would get his tracking movement and everything. And I was like, we're in the future, but we are so far from it at the same time. I was like, if this could have just been, you put the headset on, you're there, and then it just starts tracking you because of the headset direction, and it has like some sort of built-in.
I just don't get why, like, they literally have everything go. Like, I'm thinking of like indie horror games and stuff like that with like the Oculus and 3D headset and like the like joy. Like, I just don't get why everything isn't at a baseline of the headsets just for turning, and the control sticks are just for moving, like, because like it solves every single problem.
It's because people find companies or individuals who are making games and they don't care about like a baseline of what the structure of their game is. So then they buy it and add it onto their production company where they release and publish it. Yeah, it's investors. It's people paying money for random shit, and then it gets on like a big store page because somebody bought out like the game. But like most games in VR are like that, where it is you use the joysticks. It's just that there's no baseline because one, it's like untapped marketplace. So it's like,
and not a lot of people are doing it. There's no real game design book. It's harder to do.
Yeah.
It's harder to make a lot of those things work because of how motion sickness and how your inner ear functions and things like that.
I got hired on doing binomial sound. Binomial sound is a pseudoscience. Like figuring out what type of frequencies work best with a person, trying to make sound effects within those frequencies. It's all a pseudo. It's not real. There's no lab studies. There's no tests. You can read paper after paper of like people. Yeah, you like. There's no sound that cures somebody's PTSD. Like that just doesn't exist. But the market and people who are in charge don't know that. So it's like there's a whole layer of people who do visual art and people who are getting pulled in for VR to do this pseudoscience, reinvent the wheel, change how things work. And you're never going to find for the next probably for the next 20 years, you're never going to find a baseline of VR.
Binaural beats to increase your penis size. Just shit like that, dude.
Sort of, like, yeah.
That bit didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to.
I mean,
it's okay.
It's like, yeah. I mean, you're never gonna get anything like that. That's just kind of how that shit works. And it's companies wanting things, and those things aren't possible. But it doesn't matter because the companies want those things. Okay. GameStop had a thing where they had an NFT marketplace with like cryptocurrency and their own little cryptocurrency market, and they still have all their dumb metaverse NFT video game shits up on their site that they advertise for, but they don't tell you that the GameStop cryptocurrency marketplace and wallet, not a thing anymore. They shut it down in August 2023, baby.
So is GameStop like dead?
No, it's still alive, but they are, when I was talking about the idiosyncratic outside forces on their stocks, they're currently in buckle down mode because their insistence on chasing the NFT and metaverse markets long after 2.5 years or so after all that shit was clearly going to die and clearly not going to take off has drained a lot of their wallets. A lot of their stuff, a lot of their fulfillment centers that they bought never panned out. They had to sell all that shit back or tear that shit down. A lot of their overstock didn't work. The next generation of consoles did not pan out the way that they thought it did. So currently they're buckling down to cut costs and retain the books and keep them flat. But the stock does not represent that because of the idiosyncratic outside forces. Read financial cultists.
Now it's overinflated.
Yeah, pretty much.
And its value is sinking, which is that's incredible.
The only reason why they even acknowledge like the weird financial cultists who keep buying all their goddamn stock and insisting that like the revalue that's going to shoot it back up to $500 a share or something like that is coming. The only reason they acknowledge those people is it's because they're actively hurting the companies and they're actively trying to cover their bases for anybody who could invest or mutual funds so that they don't get sued, and to tell their investors the stock is going to go down. The stock is going to go down, but that's fine. We have control over it. They probably don't have control over it, but there's no real guarantee. And they're kind of in a part where they wanted their idea for becoming the Amazon of gaming didn't pan out because of course it didn't. Why the fuck would you be the Amazon of gaming when Amazon already exists? Like the secondary games market is dog shit trash that is overvalued, overpriced, overhyped, bad nonsense. It's easier to get a used game on eBay for a fairer price than it is for GameStop or any other secondary market that exists.
We have to get going. But before we get going, I wanted to say none of this is financial advice. We are not trained professionals in the field. We are not recommending any type of buy or sell of stock.
I like that this is a thing that gets covered in the documentary as well. That this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
I will tell you financial advice. Do not listen to anything that the GME or Super Stonks people tell you, because they're probably trying to get you to go into a pump and dump. It's
No, diamond hands, everyone. To the moon, to the moon, to the moon. This is parody. This is parody.
Actual parody. Just get a broker. Like, just get a broker, or put your money into a mutual fund, or again, just get a broker. Brokers know what they're doing, for the most part. And don't ever put more money into your stocks than you can afford to lose. You're not going to win the lottery. It's not how it works. Gambling does not get you money. It usually loses you money.
If you stop gambling right now, you will never hit it big. The person who's if you get up from your seat when you're at the slots, the next person's just going to hit this.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. You are going to win. Don't get it twisted. You will win the lottery. Getting struck by lightning 7 times in a row, guess what? It happens. It could be you. All right, I'm ending on that one. That's all I have to say.
That's a pretty good way to end it.
Okay, all right. All right, well, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Buy low, sell high, hit subscribe, donate. We want another mic. we need more mics, please. Please.
No, it's okay. I like this setup. We're going to run the same thing next week.
No.
All right, goodbye, everyone.
She'll be stuck on. The wheel of financial pain can never break you. Diamond hands.
Now I know more about that Cohen guy than I ever thought I ever would in my entire life. I didn't know he was from the...
Chewy,
Yeah, from Chewy. Wow, that makes me almost think he's competent. But he's not. For sure not. Didn't do it.
Huge loser.
All right, goodbye, everyone. Bye.